Hi, Satish. So let's take a look at your newest set of essays. Here we've got traditional foods replaced by fast food. Let's see what you wrote. People in both the developing and developed nations are moving towards the fast food consumption over their own traditional foods. Some believe there are many detrimental ramifications of fast foods on its citizens, while others disagree. I strongly believe that overconsumption of fast food is hazardous to health. Using the research as done by the U.S. Health and Economical Research Institutes, I will prove my arguments below. Okay, so this is all right for the most part, but there definitely is some awkwardness that we have to fix, some overuse of articles like the. So let's do that straight away, okay? People in both developing and developed nations are moving towards fast food consumption over their own traditional foods. Okay? Some believe there are many detrimental ramifications of fast foods on citizens, or their citizens would have been okay, while others disagree because it's some their citizens, not its. And then this sentence for me was really problematic because you had essentially two sentences, this dependent clause. I don't know what happened here. So here's a couple of options. I strongly believe that overconsumption of fast food is hazardous to health, and using research done by the USA Health and Economical Research Institutes, I will prove my arguments below. Okay? Or you could have said something like, I strongly believe that overconsumption of fast food is hazardous to health, using research done by the U.S. Health and Economical Institute. No, you can't. So you could have just had a full stop here and then have a new sentence start with using research done. And that would have been okay. All right? So let's move on. On the one hand, evidence is uncountable, so it should be there is ample evidence. On the one hand, there is ample evidence available which illustrates fast food consumption without the is leading towards deteriorating health issues like obesity, diabetes, and even heart stroke, as the ingredients being used in preparing junk food without the are mostly frozen and contain high levels of fat and carbohydrates like butter, cheese, processed flour, and sugar, which are harmful for the body on overconsumption. All right, what happened here? This isn't a full sentence. It's a fragment. So you needed a different linking device here. Why don't we try something different? So you said that this fast food consumption is causing deteriorating health. Why don't we try it a little differently? You could have said, this is because the ingredients being used in preparing junk food are mostly frozen and contain high levels of fat and carbohydrates like butter, cheese, processed flour, and sugar, which are harmful for the body when overly consumed. Okay, or overconsumed. That would have been okay too. That's the way you have to do this. For example, this needs something else. If it's a title, you should have capitalized these three words, or you could have said a Health Research Institute, and then you wouldn't have had to capitalize it. So, for example, a health institute in the USA published many research papers showing showing that over 90% of people who consume fast food are obese and have a higher chance of getting health-related issues. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that consumption of fast food is worsening the health of its customers. Okay, that's fine. So it's okay. Grammar is the weak point in this paragraph. I was all right with the development. I thought you could have maybe gone a little further in detail, especially if you're aiming for one of those really high band scores. But the most prominent thing for me is the grammar, and that's what needed to be worked on a little bit here. So let's move on. On the other hand, although fast food is being available easily, no. Although fast food is easily available in each part of the nation because of giant restaurant chains like McDonald's, apostrophe S, Pizza Hut, Subway, and more. Okay, this isn't a full sentence. You need a comma here, and you need to connect it to the next. So let's try that again. On the other hand, although fast food is easily available in each part of the nation because of giant restaurant chains like McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Subway, and more, comma, it is badly impacting local street vendors who serve traditional food, which cannot be disregarded. For instance, gaining popularity of fast food in a country like India will hit hard many people who are living on their small businesses by selling traditional foods on the street. Therefore, this development may also affect such vendors with unemployment. Okay? So again, grammar. Let's move on, and then we're going to talk about another problem that's rather significant. To conclude, based on the above facts and arguments, I strongly believe that fast food consumption is worsening situations for the individuals and families as it badly impacts their health, but also affects the society as people may lose, with one O, because this is a totally different word, their businesses. Okay, so I've already told you that grammar is a problem throughout this. But there's another problem that concerns me a little more, and that's that of task achievement. So let's look at what this essay was about. In many countries, traditional foods are being replaced by fast food. Now, this is the situation that you are supposed to take as a given. This is what's implied. There's no real debate about this. What you are asked to comment on is this. This has a negative impact on families, individuals, and society. Okay? So, you said in your answer, I strongly believe that overconsumption of fast food is hazardous to health. While that's related to what you're being asked about, it's not 100% on topic. Do you believe that the replacement of traditional food by fast food has a negative impact on these three layers of life, of society? Okay? So families, individuals, and the greater society as a whole. So it's not enough to just say it is hazardous to health. Whose health? Individuals' health, families' health, society's health. So you're supposed to comment on all three of these aspects here. Okay? So that was my first issue. Then you treated this a little bit like not answering the question, but more like discuss both views of discuss the positives and negatives of fast food. Okay, that's what I felt like this was about, but that's not what they asked you. Now, here's the other strange thing. I didn't understand why you had this on the one hand, on the other hand. We use those to introduce paragraphs that contrast with each other. These did not, because both ones essentially talked about the negatives. So I thought that this sentence was really inappropriate, and it confused me. Because you see, the thing is that these linking devices, like on the one hand, on the other hand, they act like signposts. They kind of tell you where the essay is going. So I thought, okay, well, this talks about one side of the argument and this talks about the other. But it didn't actually. So this was really inappropriate, as was the first sentence. Perhaps you are taking a suggestion from the template that said, although there is a case for et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but you've misused it. So there is certainly some sort of misunderstanding about how to use this kind of language. I think what you could have done here then is not use on the one hand, not use on the other hand, and replace this sentence here with something more along the lines of, let's see, in addition to the problems fast food causes in terms of health, it also creates problems for society by affecting the economy of the country. Okay, so that way it would have been okay. But again, remember, you were supposed to talk about these three layers. So you could have talked about how it affects individuals. All right, it affects their individual health. How does it affect the family? All right, that's another question. And also, of course, as I already mentioned, how does it affect society? So there are a lot of different ways you could do this. Since you were arguing just one side, you could have talked about individuals and society here, families here. There are a lot of different ways to do it. But apart from the grammar, there was certainly a problem with task achievement. Okay, so let's move on and see what you wrote to your friend. Let's see. Dear Ved, hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing this letter to apologize as my family and I couldn't meet you in person even though we planned a day together during my visit in Varanasi last week. Hold on a second. Why are you and your family in Varanasi? Okay, fine. As I already informed you before the trip, you're giving us the when, so you don't need to use present perfect, just past simple. As I informed you before the trip, we were about to visit you and your family as we planned this trip to attend a marriage at my relatives who are living there. Let's clean this up. As I informed you before my trip, we were about to visit you and your family while attending a wedding of some relatives who live there. It's not perfect, but it's a little better, okay? At least grammatically, it's correct. Both you and I were so excited. Okay, you keep overusing as. Look at this. As. So try to use some other linking devices. Both you and I were so excited since we were about to meet after almost 8 years, yet we couldn't make it. The main reason behind this is my parents' health issue. Get rid of the actually. When I was in Varanasi, my parents were alone here at my home and they caught cold and sore throat and even fever as well. In this pandemic, these symptoms shouldn't be ignored. Hence, we rushed back to get them tested for COVID-19 without the. Thankfully, the report was negative as it was a viral infection and they are doing well now. Okay, I'm again planning to visit Varanasi next month. Though I will be alone this time, I assure you that I will spare time to visit you first, hoping to see you for sure this time. All right. I was a little kind of confused. So I thought that some of what you wrote here was rather awkward. It's like you were telling the person you're writing to things that the two of you had already discussed and already agreed upon. And I thought that was really rather awkward. I understand that you're doing it for the benefit of the examiner, but it wasn't particularly effective. It just made this sound really unnatural, and you don't want to do that. So I want to fix some of this up here. So let's try it one more time. As I informed you before the trip, we were going to visit you and your family to attend the wedding of my relatives who live in your city. I know how excited we were to meet after 8 years, but unfortunately something came up and we couldn't make it. The problem behind this was my parents' health. And when you say there, I was confused here. Were you in Varanasi? Were you in your city? I don't know. While my parents were alone here at my home, they caught a cold, comma, sore throat, and even a fever. In this pandemic, these symptoms shouldn't be ignored, hence we rushed back to get them tested. Okay, and then the rest of it was fine. So this was fine, and then this was fine. And then the rest was no problems. So yeah, I mean, there was some awkwardness, and I want you to be aware of that, and I want you to see how you can fix it so you can avoid these kinds of mistakes in the future. Okay? I hope that information is helpful. I hope it gives you some ideas on how to improve your following essays. I will be looking forward to them, so good luck.